want to go ahead and get started with XML sitemaps, all right? So first of all, the importance of XML sitemaps is crucial for SEO as they really help the engines understand the structure of your website and help them efficiently crawl and index your pages. Basically, it's a list of all the pages of your site. Hey, it's Steve here. Before we continue, please smash that like button. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Your likes really help spread the word and grow the channel. Plus, you'll be the first to know when my new videos go live. All right, let's get back into the training. Back in the day before you had things like WordPress, it was very difficult for the engines to sort of take a deep dive into database related sites. If you were like cars.com and every day you had a bunch of cars that got sold and a bunch of new cars that were going in, you didn't actually have an HTML page for each car. It was stored in a database. Maybe you had to log in, you had to like search for the brand, the make, the model, and have it show up. And it was really difficult to get those pages into a Google index because they couldn't get access. They couldn't find it. XML sitemaps began to help that by providing Google a listing of URLs to your site, whether they're dynamic or not, along with additional metadata like when the file was last modified, how often the file has changed, how important it was to you at the time. But that info helped the engines prioritize and discover your content, ensuring a more comprehensive indexing. Back in the day, I think we called it the invisible web. It was mostly stuff that was in databases that Google couldn't find. That's no longer the case. Nowadays, XML files help with this. They're commonly named sitemap.xml. If you're using like Yoast and a few others, it might be called sitemap_index.xml. But that's typically the names that you'll see. Again, they can be changed to anything, but those are pretty common. Now, how you create them, to generate them, you can use tools like Yoast SEO for WordPress. Tools like Screaming Frog can be done. There's also other online generators that can create an XML sitemap. There's plenty of other like WordPress plugins, and of course, a lot of the other e-commerce type sites that are out to other platforms provide ways of creating and feeding XML sitemaps to the engines, because that's who we feed it to. We don't feed it to users. These tools automate the process, ensuring that all relevant URLs are included so Google can find it. And as you're adding new stuff to your pages, to your site, these will automatically get updated. And that's really the easiest thing to do. Again, back in the day, beforehand, you had to like manually add these things to pages as well. Not anymore, thankfully. You want to review and optimize these sitemaps before you submit them. Make sure that all the important pages are included. Exclude any irrelevant or duplicate URLs. That does happen too. So be careful when you're putting that out there. We'll talk about a little bit more about that with crawl budgets. And then, of course, optimize the metadata that goes into it to reflect accurate change frequency and priority. We'll talk more about that in a second because it's not that big of a deal anymore. Submit it to the engines, right? So when you have your XML sitemap, yeah, Google can find it, but with Google Webmaster Tools, with Search Console, Bing Webmaster Tools, you can actually tell Google where to find the XML sitemap. You actually deliver it to them saying, here's the URL of the sitemap where you can find it. For Google, it's the Search Console. You go into the section, you kind of just give them the URL. They'll see if they can read it. And if they can, great. They'll begin to index all those pages. And they'll keep coming back regularly to look at what's in there if things have changed. You don't have to keep submitting it. And then I've got, you can also, here's one for my Search Console here, 113 pages. You can see it shows the different types of sitemaps that are in here, authors, categories, layout tags, posts, and pages. This is sort of the basics of the sitemaps. You can see how many pages of each are kind of there. Primarily, it's the posts and the pages that we have the most in here, but there's other forms of sitemap items in here. So we're not really here to show you the whole thing. I'm going to show you a bit about sitemaps in a minute, but